What's up, Sooner fans? Welcome back to the Sooner Surge football edition here, as we're going to be talking about some of the commit targets for the University of Oklahoma, how they did last night, I guess it would be, in the scrimmage that they are at the high schools around here in the area. Make sure you click subscribe. You're a part of the Sooner Surge family, liking and commenting, giving us your questions and comments, as we love the interaction. And I know, Hunter, you were in Carl Albert last night watching that scrimmage, one that had really a whole lot of OU targets there, some targets, some actual commits already. And so maybe we'll start with Hunter. Just tell us some things you kind of saw and some things that stood out for you.
Yeah, Carl Albert is going to be the place to be for probably the rest of the season. Last night, it definitely was. That's where everyone should have wanted to be if you were able to make it out to any of the scrimmages. Carl Albert definitely had the most amount of D1 talent out of everyone. You got Carl Albert, who has probably 6 D1 guys themselves. Then you have Washington with Cooper Alexander and Nate Roberts, and then Heritage Hall, Andy Bass. Andy Bass looked really, really good tonight. In the half game they did against Tuttle, he 3 plays, 70 yards, 32 yards passing between though. He had a 32-yard pass that was just a beautiful throw to the sideline, and then ran it in, I think, for an 18-yard score. Right after that, looked really good. There was a few drops, but Bass was putting everything right into the receiver's hands. There's nothing he can do about that once he puts it right there. But really the star of the night in my mind is Kevin Sperry. 70-yard bomb. Guys, there might only be one quarterback from here till now, starting at OU before Kevin Sperry gets there, and that would be Jackson Arnold after Dylan Gabriel's gone, obviously. He's that good. He's the real deal. Looked very, very good tonight. You just watch him throw, and you can tell, he might set an Oklahoma passing record this year, depending on how much they throw the ball. I know Xavier Robinson in his preseason stuff said he's going for 3,000 yards this year and 40 touchdowns. So he'd be breaking the record he currently has at Carl Albert with 2,600 yards. So will be interesting to see how Carl Albert offense shapes out with the two of them. It's talent all over the field. First touch of the night for Xavier Robinson, he put a dude in the ground. 9-yard run, literally threw him to the ground. It's just not even fair. Then he had 2 rushing touchdowns as well. It was a 21-21 tie with UConn. A little shocked on that. Sperry didn't play too much. They were just kind of trying some things out, I would say, on that, on their offense. And UConn really was able to do whatever they wanted offensively. I expected a much better performance from the Carl Albert defense. That did not happen, but the one thing that will happen all year is if Carl Albert gets the ball, they're probably going to score every single time they have the ball, even if it's like tonight where they were barely on the field offensively.
How's Kevin Sperry look? I mean, you're on the sideline there, Hunter. Size-wise, comparable, what would you say?
I mean, he looks every bit of, I think he's listed at 6'1", I think. I mean, he looks it. Tonight he was wearing the crimson Jordan 1s. Carl Albert is a Jordan school. Really fits the uniforms well. They're red and black are their colors. So, he just looks like a guy that's going to be a college quarterback, and he's only a junior. So, to be able to say that right now.
And on the Andy Bass thing, I know you talked about several runs he had as well. We know that OU's pretty loaded at quarterback room, as you mentioned, with Arnold and Sperry. What are some other things that Bass brings maybe Sooner fans can be expecting from him?
Yeah, Bass right now, if he were to commit to OU in 6 days on August 24th is when he's announcing his commitment. He's choosing between the Sooners, Kansas State Wildcats, and the Syracuse Orange. So, that's Andy Bass will definitely kind of have his own package. You could see him maybe in the short quarterback game, like a goal line type package. I'm sure you guys remember the Belldozer. OU kind of had that goal line package. I could see that being with Andy Bass. He's just a natural runner, like, and he can really sling the ball pretty well. Like tonight, he was putting the ball. I mean, he's putting it right there. There was a lot of drops from the Heritage Hall receiving room. I'm sure Gavin Freeman was not thrilled to see that. He was in attendance on the sideline the whole night. He stayed after Heritage Hall was the first team gone, and he stayed all the way through the end of the Carl Albert scrimmage tonight, checking out the future Sooners.
Hey, do you not think Andy Bass, just the way you describe him, kind of sounds like a prototypical K-State quarterback?
Yeah, that's, and I think that's a reason why they're in his top three. K-State has used quarterbacks like that time and time again. Again, that's one that I really, really hope OU can land. DeMarco Murray has made him really a priority. He's one of the best players in the state. You can't let him go elsewhere. There's always going to be a package, and I like how they're these 3-star in-state guys this year. They're kind of like getting packages for them, for their strengths. Like Xavier Robinson will have that H-back, fullback almost package. I mean, he's the biggest guy out on the field. And seeing it in person, like, it was very clear.
Yeah, and a lot of things that are talked about with Sperry is he's just such a natural thrower. And tonight, as you said, you saw that on the 70-yard touchdown pass to Trene Washington, just an absolute beautiful bomb. And also tonight, another scrimmage that happened was Union versus Lee Summit North, obviously. And there was a lot of storylines, whether it was Williams Winery, Isaiah Mosey, DeCorian Moore, and also Union cornerback Devin Jordan. So there was a lot of storylines there. And from some of the clips we were able to see online, Isaiah Mosey looks like an extremely fast and elusive player. Just there was a highlight I saw of him against Devin Jordan, matched up 1-on-1. He beat him down the field. And obviously the clip that made its rounds was Williams Winery and the OU cleat. When the OU gloves and cleats, and I don't want to make much about that. I really don't want to spend time talking about that right now.
I'll tell you right now. I mean, I'll say something about it. I think the people that are freaking out about it is stupid. Okay, and the reason is, if I was a recruit and I had those stuff, I'd wear them where I wanted to. That to me matters nothing. It matters nothing. It's Jordan material. It's shoes, nice cleats, and nice gloves. I don't think it's a big deal personally.
Yeah,
I mean, I know you're in Oklahoma, and obviously, who knows if he's trying to. I'm not going to say why he's wearing them. I don't know, but
maybe to appease the fans, less likely to get booed if there are people
honestly, if people were going to boo him in any way, doing that would make it much worse.
Possibly.
Not possible.
Maybe, but
and really, a guy that I was kind of interested to see play tonight, just based upon clips I was able to see on social media, was DeCorian Moore. Because as you know, he's an unranked, I believe, on all services. I could be wrong on that. But he's a guy that I would expect to take a major rise in the recruiting rankings over these next few months. He's transformed his body over this offseason. And as Parker Thune has said about him, he's gone up to Lee Summit North hundreds of times, and he just thinks the kid is a super underrated player. And to me, he kind of falls in the same boat as being underrated and the same thing as Andy Bass. These kids just haven't got the national attention and recognition yet. And obviously with DeCorian Moore, he plays at a big-time school now at Lee Summit North that's becoming well nationally recognized. But he still is young. And Andy Bass plays at a small school like Heritage Hall. So I think we could look back in the next few years and looking at those two recruitments, if Andy Bass does end up a Sooner, as two guys that Oklahoma was very glad to get in on early, or maybe while they were being underlooked by teams across the country.
Well, another guy that they'd love to get their hands on, and I know the ball went his way several times tonight, Hunter, was Nate Roberts, right?
Yeah.
Talk to us.
Yeah.
Talk to us about what you saw with Nate Roberts and Cooper Alexander.
So at first I sent you guys a text because I was listening to the broadcast. I didn't have any rosters with me. The announcers were saying Cooper a lot. It was not Cooper. It was Nate Roberts. I don't think at least from when I was there, I know they kind of had some earlier half field scrimmages going on closer to 5 o'clock. I didn't make it there till about 6, so an hour late. But Nate Roberts was getting the ball a lot, and he's massive. Like, you can tell, again, 4-star tight end. That's a must get for the Sooners now that he's decommitted from Notre Dame. He's been working out with Kevin Sperry quite a bit. I really like where OU is on that. The relationships are there. He decommitted from Notre Dame because of things that happened there. OU seems like the school that should land him at this point. I think he's probably going to go on some visits elsewhere as well. But yeah, Nate Roberts is the best tight end in the state now, 100%. Washington is probably going to win another state championship. And I mean, looking at that 2 tight end set they run, it's really hard to stop.
Yeah, and excuse me for saying Decorian Moore. It's Kamori Moore.
Yeah, I knew who you meant.
Yeah. That was my fault. But going to like Nate Roberts and Cooper Alexander, you don't very often around anywhere in the country see 2 Power 5 caliber tight ends. And a lot of times you don't even see 2 Division I tight ends on the same team. And at a small school like Washington, that's very unprecedented to see in today's recruiting world. And so I think for Oklahoma to be able to build this really strong relationship with Nate Roberts that they previously had started before he committed to Notre Dame, and now that he's decommitted, his recruitment is back open. And obviously, as you said, he's been working out with Kevin Sperry and Elijah Thomas. We've seen the photos that have made the rounds. So it's just that with Oklahoma, they're in I would say that maybe they're in a good spot with Nate Roberts just to the relationship factors he has with Kevin Sperry, Elijah Thomas, and maybe even with just his relationship with Joe John Finley, I'm sure is starting to grow even more now.
Hey, I understand what you're saying when you say good spot and relationships and all that, but let me say something real quick. I think OU fans have to be careful not to hear good spot all the time and think they're getting everybody. And here's what I mean by that is Nate Roberts is a stud tight end, okay? He's got great relationships, but he's also a stud tight end, okay? And Mitchell's going to be here next year. We all know that. He's committed, right? So now that opens up the 25 recruitment for a tight end, and it could very well be Nate Roberts, but also I believe Georgia's heavily in that recruitment, if I'm not wrong. And am I right on that? Is Georgia in on that?
For Nate Roberts? I feel like Georgia may have a 2025 tight end committed. I could be wrong on that.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, there's a lot of other programs that need a really good tight end. So I do think with his decommitment and the relationships, yes, you would think that OU's in a good spot. I understand that, but I'm to the point on recruiting until I hear a commitment, I'm just not going to go down that road.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that OU has is Kevin Sperry.
Exactly.
Like,
I agree.
He honestly, Kevin Sperry, forget giving a staff member recruiter of the year for 2025. Kevin Sperry, he committed. What was it? Was it February? It was a long time. I think it was before we had anyone in the 24 class. He committed in the 25 class, and he's just been on a roll pretty much nonstop. He already has 3 wide receivers, and there's not much room left in that area because Kevin Sperry has taken care of business well ahead of schedule.
Yeah, I would say Emmett Jones is top, and right there 1A would be Kevin Sperry. And I agree with what you're saying, Jay. The term good spot is a cop-out and overused, okay? I don't like the phrasing of that. Let's just say it like it is. Kevin Sperry, how he's kind of working with Nate Roberts, that's great to hear. But always saying it's just like the phrase good spot is maybe overused. I think people are sick of hearing. Now, OU's great with what's happening with Nate Roberts. Like Hunter said, he decommitted. There are great signs and evidence that it's trending in a good way for OU.
I think that's what he was meaning.
Yeah, and I know that it's just that phrase.
What else can you say though? than great
Well,
spot.
would you rather have me
What
say that
you-
Oklahoma leads for Nate Roberts? Because lead
no,
is not right at all.
you say what you said with the evidence that's been given. I just think you leave it at that and say, look, he's working out with Kevin Sperry. There's all these things that are happening. He did decommit from Notre Dame, so his recruitment's open. OU's heavy on him. And the main thing is, if they are to land him, the tight end room is second to none in the nation. Okay, that tight end room with Mitchell and Roberts would be second to none, and Joe John Finley licking his chops at the future in the tight end room. And guys, also check out some other scrimmages tonight on the east side, Bigsby, Muskogee, some other teams that are going to be playing in that. I know there's I saw some injuries, some bad injuries at the BA scrimmage last night. Some sad news there with some leg injuries. If you saw that, Bill Haston did a little article on that. But let's talk about the other recruitment, which is David Stone. That's about what?
8 days.
8 days away.
Hey.
And that's one that I know everyone's chomping at the bit to figure out what's going on. So,
hey, all I have to say on that is you mentioned Kevin Sperry and how he's been a huge part of the recruiting process for getting some of these 25 guys. That's exactly why, other than many other reasons, but you have to have David Stone commit to OU on the 26th, because then he can take that role as the quarterback of the defense and get guys to come on board with OU and commit. That's why you got to get him to commit now and not like commit later on. You know what I mean? I've heard the talk about Nwaneri committed to Missouri. There's still a chance OU can get. He's still out, guys. OU needs a commitment on the 26th. Period. End of discussion.
Yeah, I said it a while back. If Stone would have committed, like, say, Champion Barbecue Weekend, I think we would be talking about Williams and Wernie right now committing as a Sooner if Stone was already in the boat at that point. Possibly. I know his situation is a little different because there's NIL very heavily involved in it. But David Stone, like Jay said, he's that guy. He's a magnet for these recruits. He is the most popular recruit in the country, and it's not even close. And he's a defensive lineman. OU's trying to build a power line. Like, if you want to have a power line, you have to have David Stone in it. And the Stone effect from that very well could get them Dom McKinley, possibly. Who knows? Which certainly helped them in their chances of getting Danny Okoye. That's Nigel Smith too. Yeah, it just the list goes on and on. They have to get David Stone. They have to now. Obviously, even if Stone were to say not commit now, I still think that OU could get him down the road. But it has to be now on the 26th. They have to get David.
Hey, I got a question for the viewers and for y'all. Jackson, you can answer this first too. David Stone, this recruitment, the biggest recruitment, if you go back to, I mean, the guys that have been like visiting OU multiple times like him, guys that OU's been after, I mean, I don't know how many years now. It feels like it's been 3-4 years. I know it's probably 2, but I'm just saying this recruitment and getting David Stone, I think it's one of the biggest recruitments probably in the last 20 years at OU. I mean, just what it means to going into the SEC.
No, I agree with that completely 100%, because a lot of times you don't just get these elite interior defensive linemen in every cycle. For example, there's 2 of them in the cycle that Oklahoma has the potential to get in Dominic McKinley and David Stone. Now, the chances of that happening, I think, are very slim for them to land both. But you look at how many times that David Stone has visited OU, okay? He's an Oklahoma Preps kid at heart, okay? That's where he basically grew up his whole life here playing football for Oklahoma. One of his best friends, Michael Patterson McDonald, is committed to the University of Oklahoma. All signs and evidence point to David Stone committing to Oklahoma. But the catch is there's NIL. With the way NIL is being used in college athletics now, it's like we have never seen before. Now, I don't think NIL is going to play out all of Stone's recruitment. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but I think it's going to have a part in his recruitment. And I do not think that Miami is out of the Stone recruitment. And I think it's going to come down to the very end between Oklahoma and Miami.
Yeah, it's no one's out of this recruitment until this decision's made. And the good thing about, like we've said before, about OU commits seems to carry more weight. But listen, like Hunter said, the charisma, the energy. Look, we've used the analogy about the big fish. David Stone is the anchor. Okay, if you don't set the anchor, the boat starts drifting, and other guys may not get on board, if you will. Okay, set the anchor, guys hop in the boat, and this power line can be what we think it can be, which is one of the best in the nation when you add those other guys to it. But he is the anchor. He's the one you got to get.
I think that's perfectly well said.
There's no doubt about that. And Stone is a guy that you need going into the SEC, an elite 5-star interior defensive lineman. And man, guys, Oklahoma was so close to getting one in the last cycle in DJ Hicks, but some things just transpired there at the end, which didn't lead to him getting them. And I know that just, Oklahoma, they need to show on the field first that they can put out a good defensive product before more and more 5-star defensive linemen and defensive players in general are going to want to come and play for Oklahoma.
Well, I think that's on the horizon, but I don't remember recruitment that's been like, I was trying to think just now, and I'm thinking, do y'all remember the Brock Vandergriff recruitment? I think it was him. Was it Caleb? Was Caleb on that year too? Caleb Williams?
Yeah, that was Caleb Williams' year.
Yeah, so that one was pretty heavily talked about, if I remember right, and it was just but David Stone, the David Stone name and the David Stone recruiting process has been talked about, I think, more than any other I can remember.
Yeah, I think he's, if you want to go defensive line from Oklahoma, he's definitely the biggest recruitment since Gerald McCoy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're very similar, Oklahoma City kid, hometown, possibility of being the hometown hero. We all know how the Gerald McCoy one played out. Obviously went to OU, had a great career at OU, and had a great NFL career as the 3rd overall pick in 2010.
Yeah, and guys, we're 8 days away from that. Andy Bass before that. So we are very hopeful that there's going to be some commitment videos coming your way soon. And just like David Stone being the anchor for this power line, why don't you anchor into the Sooner Surge? Click subscribe. We will be your anchor for all your Sooner needs. Click subscribe, turn on those notifications. Until next time, boys, Boomer.
Boomer.